Well, hey everybody, Captain Dave Schneider. It's a Guide's Life coming to you once again from my home, right in front of my supercomputer. In front of tonight it's going to be my Canon 7D, or one of them anyway. I don't know why I'm sharing all that with you, but I might as well continue. I've got a really nice Rokinon 24mm 1.4 cinematic lens. I've got the Rode Pro video mic. I got all kinds of stuff. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, but I do have some great fishing news for you. Okeechobee has changed a little bit in the last 36 hours. The first thing I noticed today when I got on the water is, first of all, it's about 9 or 10 degrees warmer. Bam! It's shocking that a body of water can go from 54 degrees at 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon to 64 degrees or 63.6, somewhere in that area. Scott Cormier was on the water today too, and he said he had 65 in the area he was at. Guys, that's like 8-9 degrees warmer. Can that happen? Yeah, it can, especially on a shallow body of water. You're dealing with the sun and the warm air. It warms that top 8, 10, 12 inches of water, and then the wind will push that warm water into backwater areas, and when it starts to roll over, it warms quickly. The good news is it turns the fishing on. These fish are so much more active in 63 to 65 degree water as opposed to 54 degree water. So that's great news. And you know what? It was obvious in the backwater areas today that you could see fish moving around. There's fry in the water. Scott was fishing in a back end area in Monkey Box today, not far from where I was at actually with my guests. And he saw a 9.5 pounder on a bed. Clear as day, he could see the bed. There were fry all over. He caught several fish fishing around and cruising around. He caught several fish that were guarding fry. You know, that 16 to 18 inch fish, that 2 to 3.5 pound fish he was catching, and he caught a bunch of fish today. Yesterday he was catching them down south in the South Bay. I know also that down in South Bay, the Senko and the Boy Scout Cut area out in the hayfield areas, as you move out towards the lake, those clear water areas, Senkos in the little more open patches, and flukes, whether they're, whether you're throwing the June bug or something. Scott, these are actually the two baits that Scott's been pitching and flipping with. This is the Strike King Magnum bug, and this is the regular bug, the structure bug. All right, and Scott's, these are the two baits. One is quite a bit, got a smaller profile. This one here is smaller profile. The nice thing about the Magnum is it'll hold a 5/0 flipping hook. If you're throwing that 2-ounce weight, Scott's also been showing me, he's been using a little bead that Fitzgerald makes. It's just called a punching bead, and it actually is like a little glass bead that goes between your weight and your 2.5 ounce weight, or your hook, and and then you still snell the hook, but it causes the bait. He said it causes the bait to fall through the cover straight. Whereas you get that big weight pushing against your soft plastic, and sometimes it bends it like this, and it has a tendency to fall this way. So that's another little tidbit for you in rigging and fishing. Scott's a Strike King fisherman, and he uses their baits exclusively for the most part, and he really, and he catches more fish than I do a lot of times. And it's just, you get your confidence lures and you throw them. These are supple. This is a lot like the beaver that I throw, but this one is the classic Okeechobee, the blue sapphire with the green and black flake. You guys know the drill, man. You guys know the drill. Whether you're throwing these could be flukes and Senkos for that matter, and they're still going to be the right colors. But anyway, so that's kind of what's going on in those areas. I will tell you this now: there's been a slowdown in the guide. What guides look for in this time of year is we look for cuts that go from the outside areas into the backwater areas where the fish are spawning. That's what we're looking for. And a lot of times we can sit in these spots and they just keep, another group of fish comes, another group of fish comes. If you fished with me, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't fished with me, you'll find out. but that slowed down today. So I took my attention off those cuts and those ditches and those spill areas. I call them spillage or whatever. But I started looking for grass lines back in a little bit. Found a grass line after things had slowed down for us. Man, we got bam, bam, bam right at the end of the day. We caught several more fish, just moving back off of those areas and back into the areas where the fish are. Now, new moon, full moon, they're gonna have a whole new group of fish that are gonna come into through those cuts, and you're gonna see the guides back on them again when that happens. But right now, we're going back in a little bit now, and tomorrow I'm gonna spend more time back in the spawning areas, actually flipping or pitching into the lines and stuff like that back there. Now, I had a question. So lake report. The fish are much more active. It's a great thing. When you're running around and you're fishing in these areas now, like the hayfields areas or back in the back of Monkey Box or back in behind Dice Ditch up in Harney Pond, if you get back in those areas, there's 5 rods, 6 rods that I like to have. I have one where I have a swimming frog. I throw horny toads like crazy. I got that compressed swimming frog. I also like to throw a Trixie Shark. It's like a swimming frog, but it's about twice the length. It's got long tails on it. Sometimes the fish prefer that. And I'm always going to have a swim bait, whether it's if it's a gambler, it's going to be like a Big Easy. You know, I'll throw some bruiser baits sometimes. I'll throw Yamamoto's got a real nice swim bait. I'll throw that from time to time. But I want all these with no weight, and I'm just going to keep pitching them around and try and get a fish to show me. If I get a fish to show me where he's at, I'm going to move in with my flipping stuff. I'll have a 1/2 ounce rig that I can throw into more open areas or just in tight stuff where I can get through. I'll also have a 1 ounce rig, and I'll have a 2 to 2.5 ounce rig. All 3 of them may have the exact same bait on them. But those are the rigs I'm going to slow down and pitch and flip with. I know right now you can pitch in the junk. You can if you get back into the areas where the fish have moved in, you're catching some smaller fish in the surrounding areas in the pads, and then maybe you're catching those 2 and 3 pounders, but you want to catch a 6 or an 8 or a 10. Get into the heavy stuff. Go find the nearest super heavy cover you can find. Get those baits in. Remember, when you throw that bait in, when you're pitching and flipping, throw the bait in. You can't go boom, boom, boom on Lake Okeechobee right now, especially right now. You throw it in, you let it fall. Keep your line taut, feel it. After a few seconds, lift up, shake it a little bit, set it back down. Nothing. Pull to the top of the cover, drop it 5 or 6 inches, shake it real gently, get it out. Keep repeating that process until you get a bite. If you throw it in on a fish, boom, he hits it right away. Now you're rocking and rolling. You know that you can just pitch in, it goes down, it hits the bottom, nothing there, lift up, get it out, get it in again. If you throw it in and it goes all the way to the bottom, it sits there for a minute, maybe you lift up, set it back down, fish hits it, now you know how to fish. You can cross out you don't have to lift it and hold it at the top and all that stuff. Let the fish tell you how to do it. Once you find out how to do it, go, be a rock star. Get into a rhythm and catch them. All right. So those are the 6 rods you're going to probably want to have on the deck of your boat. Now, the only other thing I want to talk about tonight is John Simon called and asked me a really good question. He said, "Coach," or actually he said, "Captain." He said, "Captain, explain to me how I use my electronics to find hard bottom right now." All right. Here's what I'm going to tell you. You can usually identify hard bottom through the color palette that you choose on your electronics. I use 13 on my Lowrance stuff, which is going to give me that brown bottom and a white back, and so on. With that brown bottom, the darker that bottom is, the softer the bottom is. All right? In old monochrome stuff, it used to be the thicker that bottom showed up, the softer it was. The thinner it was, the harder it was. With the colors, it's going to go from a dark to a lighter brown, or that kind of thing. That light color is hard bottom. With structure scan, if you've got open where you can see off to a distance, you'll have that. If I use green or blue or orange, whatever, it's going to be a light green, a light blue, a light orange. Those are the harder bottom areas versus the darker stuff. Same deal. One of the best ways to do it without all that fancy color palettes and everything else is this. When I was up north, it was easy to find big, huge flats. Just like Okeechobee. It's like being on Lake Erie or Lake St. Clair, Lake Huron, Lake Michigan. Just being on those lakes, like being on Okeechobee. People go, it all looks the same. Well, so does the water out there. It's all 10 to 20 feet deep. It's all just hard. It's all just big flats. How do you find fish? Here's how you do it. You find hard bottom. What we used to do is we would double our sonar signal. So what I mean by that is if the water was 18 feet deep, my sonar would be set automatically to 20, and that would show me the bottom, right? What I would do is I would go from auto to manual, and I would double my depth. So if I was at 18 feet, I wanted to be able to see double that, which is 36 feet. So I'd set my graph at 40 feet, and then I'd just drive around. I'd drive around out there, and when all of a sudden I'd start to see 18 feet, 19 feet, 20 feet, or 18 feet, I'd see another bottom that matched the other one that was double the depth, like at 36 feet. That's hard bottom. All right? And then we drive around, you got 2 bottoms, all of a sudden you get a little bit of rise. That's a rock pile in the hard bottom area. Money. You can do the same thing in 2.5 feet of water or 3 feet of water. If your electronics is saying there's 3 foot of water, and your graph has automatically set itself at 5 feet, go to 10. And when that 3 feet shows up at 6 feet as well, hard bottom. And yeah, hard bottom's important. But that's a great way to find it. I hope that makes sense to you. If you have specific electronics questions, I want to answer them. You know, I'm a trainer for Lowrance. I'm on Lowrance's pro staff because I help people with that kind of thing. I just want to know how much of that you want from me. Let me know how much you want. I'll do videos showing you. I've done some stuff where I showed you how to find brush piles and how to fish brush piles. Structure scan right now, whether it's Humminbird, Lowrance, whatever. You can set it to see beds off at a distance. You're going along a grass line. If you're on that edge of it, you can see the bed. You can see it, man. You can see all the little saucers of the bluegill patches. I was doing that quite a bit in the summertime before I left and went to Michigan. I want to share that stuff with you. I want to show you how that stuff works. Captain Dave Schneider, It's a Guide's Life. Quick update on Nick. Nick and his family. Nick is still missing. There's a lot of hope that he might still be alive. You know, he was cold water survival trained in the military, and those kinds of things are important. At the end of the day, the outpouring, the love, the prayers, keep that stuff coming, guys. Keep it coming. There's going to be a candlelight vigil in Okeechobee tomorrow night between 7 and 8 p.m. I know my wife and I are planning on going up there for that. So continue to send your positive thoughts and hopes and prayers for Nick and his family. The only other thing I want to say, guys, is It's a Guide's Life. If you like the video, do me a favor and smash the like button, because I get paid when you do. All right. Share the thing. I know you got friends. I know some of you got friends. So please share. You know, I was looking at my analytics the other day, and I had like 60% of my viewers in the last 10 or 15 days have not been subscribers. So guys, hit that subscribe button. We're building a fire. You know, I'm up over 2,400 subscribers. It's growing. And I owe so much of that to you. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for caring one iota about what's going on in my life. It's very humbling for me. It's a Guide's Life. Captain Dave Schneider. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Be safe. Be well.